Good evening, everyone. My name is Prarthna. I'm 18 years old and I'm currently pursuing my undergraduate degree at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. I had the privilege of interacting and learning from a lot of influential people while I was writing my book, and I learned a lot from them. And also while working on my e-waste startup that helps on more sustainable e-waste recycling, it's called Zabi Scrap. Growing up in Delhi, where the weather's always so extreme and there's pollution and air pollution, sound pollution, water pollution, I learned a lot about global warming and climate change and the intense impact it has on our living conditions. And I wanted to talk to you about a generation that's often overlooked but is really crucial to the fight against climate change. Gen Z. Gen Z is a generation born between 1997 and 2012. This means that many members of Gen Z are still in their teenage years or are just starting to enter the workforce. But despite our youth, they're already making a huge impact in the fight against climate change. Many members of this generation are really passionate about the issue and are taking the action to make a difference. One very good example of this is Greta Thunberg and the global youth movement that she started called Fridays for Future, which was started by the young, and she's from Sweden. This movement inspired millions of people around the world to take over streets and demand action on climate change from their governments and leaders. Many students from popular in other schools in Delhi also took part in this movement and protested on the streets against climate change by skipping school on Fridays. Um, a few more initiatives that Gen Z as a generation has started to promote sustainable living. One of the examples is how thrifting has become so popular now and is a part of everyone's lifestyle more than just a once in a while thing. But a lot of closets are now fully built by thrifting, and it's no longer a stigma around wearing used and second-hand clothes, but it's cool to make sustainable fashion choices and help the environment that way. Also, brands like Shein and fast fashion brands have been facing a lot of slack for the unenvironmental, unethical practices that they pursue while making their clothes, and slowly their popularity has been decreasing for the sole reason that they're not kind to the environment despite cheap clothes that are affordable to a lot of people, but people are putting climate change and sustainable choices above that affordability and ease factor. Sustainable fashion brands are also growing in popularity, and people are making very conscious decisions about how their clothes are made and where the ingredients that the clothes are made from are used. Another example is how companies like Starbucks are working towards promoting more sustainable practices by discounting your drink if you bring your own reusable cup and avoid the single-use plastic. People all over the world have made the switch from plastic water bottles to reusable water bottles. For example, my college promotes this. We have water filters and refill machines in every possible corner you could go to because they tell us to carry our own bottle and we can refill it instead of buying new ones constantly. And also the switch from paper straws and plastic straws to paper straws and reusable metal straws because these plastic straws we watched a whole documentary on it because once they're thrown into the ocean, they get stuck in the throats of turtles, and it's damaging not only the environment and the ocean by plastic, but also wildlife by killing those turtles. So the Save the Turtle movement started the use of reusable metal straws and paper straws over plastic straws. Gen Z is not just making noise, but as I said, we're coming up with initiatives and alternative solutions to the unhealthy choices we used to make earlier and to combat this climate crisis. Many young people are turning to technology and entrepreneurship to find ways to reduce their carbon footprint and transition to a more sustainable future. Some other countries are ahead of us in this aspect. For example, the big usage of electric cars like Tesla in the US, but it's yet to happen in India because, again, it's one factor that possibly contributes to our Delhi pollution the most. But if we had electric cars like they do in the US, we would be able to live much more sustainably. There are a lot of young entrepreneurs who are developing new renewable energy technologies such as solar panels and wind turbines. I always thought it was a very cool initiative in our school. Our whole school is run by solar panels and not electricity. We also like growing up the this care for climate change is so ingrained in our minds because we used to get Diwali saplings every year to promote like not bursting crackers and having more oxygen in the city because that was the time of need and where our city is probably the most choked up. So practices like that have always helped me be conscious about the pollution and the environment in around us. Young activists also take the advantage of technology and the prowess we have over social media as a generation to make noise and raise awareness about climate change and awareness, and also motivate and mobilize others to take action through social media. Even sharing posts and just being aware is a big step that you can take because awareness is the first step to making change. But responsibility for addressing climate change doesn't only rely with Gen Z. It's a responsibility we all share because we were all given the privilege of this clean planet, and it's our job to support and mentor the young people in our lives and help them to develop the skills and knowledge that we all need to make a difference. We must all work together to create the political and economic conditions that will allow for this kind of transformative change that's needed to address the climate crisis. This means supporting policies, promoting awareness, and making sustainable choices in our daily life, like being conscious about where your clothes come from, make sure you're not buying plastic water bottles, and just reducing wastage to the minimum. Going like using less paper and going digital is also one form you could do that. But to conclude, I would just like to say that Gen Z is a generation that's already making a significant impact in the fight against climate change, and we're passionate and innovative and determined to make a difference. But it's up as a society, we all need to support the change because one effort isn't enough. Thank you.